at 287, the beautiful, newly christened Cultural Alliance Center. We're so excited. And right off the bat, I would like to introduce the Executive Director, Lisa Scales, to say a few words.
I want to welcome Joanne and the Women's Business Council. We have worked in partnership with the Greater Danbury Chamber of Commerce. In fact, they were one of our founding sponsors of the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut. So it's an absolute pleasure to have Joanne and the Women's Business Council be our first outside event here in our space. And her team, Kim and Cecilia, who I worked very closely with for 7 years. So it's a pleasure to have them here. I welcome all of you here as well. There's so much that I could tell you about Arts Western, but I'm not, because you're here to listen to this wonderful woman that's coming up soon. But if you don't know who we are, I would encourage you to go onto our website, artswesternct.org. There's a lot of information on there. But I would tell you, well, there's a couple of housekeeping things that I should probably mention before I go into that. And that is, I want to thank our sponsors, Kibaria, for tonight, and Fairgrounds Wine and Spirits. They sponsored our evening, and so we are grateful for all of our corporate sponsors. But I want to share that this space that you're in, if you can't tell, you're a perfect example. We do hope to have this be a meeting place for presentations, workshops. What you're looking at is 2 phases of work that has been done in here. There is a 3rd phase that we'll be doing hopefully before the end of the year. We have to get the funding for it, but we're looking to tear down that wall and open up that stage area so we can highlight some small performances, poetry readings, and other goodies that our creative community has to offer in this region. So look for that. We do have our own events in here as well. So if you're not already on our mail list, who's on our mail list in this room? Is there anybody? Okay, so then you can be the go-to people for those that are not yet on the mail list. Although I was going to ask Joanne if it's your, if you give us permission, we would just love to just put you all on there, and then you can just opt out later if you'd like.
If not, email me and I'm on.
But we have our own events. We have a meetup next week. We partner with the Women's Business Council and other groups all the time. Please connect with us. I promise you will not be disappointed. And then what else can I tell you? Soon we'll be offering this room rental rates. So for you business leaders in the room, if you're looking for an alternative space to do your workshops, presentations, or even night events, consider us as an option.
Tell them about John Kane.
Oh, and right, this at 287, our gallery, which we purposefully wanted to incorporate in our administrative space. John Kane is our inaugural exhibitor, and we are so very, very proud to have his collection here with us of Pilobolus dancers. He's coming tonight, so for those of you that are a little bit interested, he'll be here before Carolyn finishes to speak and talk with people. All of the artwork is for sale. I am going to be around to the very end if you have an interest in anything that you see on the wall or the bin prints up front that have a little bit of a different price point. Let me know and I'd be happy to take care of you.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us. And before we get to our main event, in 2 seconds, we have a special guest in the room. Kathy McShane is the Regional Director of Ladies Who Launch, and many of us in this room could potentially benefit from what she has to tell us. So I'm going to give her the floor for just a brief moment, and then I'll introduce Carolyn.
We are offering a $4,000 scholarship/grant to women who either want to launch or expand their business. And so if you're interested in applying for that or talking with me about it, just shout out to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Without further ado, let me introduce Carolyn Finch. Has been an active contributor to the Danbury community for over 40 years. She taught in the speech and theater department at Western Connecticut State University for 28 years, and along with Dick Cochran, set up the rehabilitation department at Danbury Hospital, working on the cleft palate team and as a speech pathologist. Carolyn was the owner of the Peter Piper School in Brookfield, the first school in the state to mainstream challenged children. She and 3 Portuguese partners started Liberty National Bank to address the needs of the growing multinational population in Danbury. And Carolyn's latest venture, Electrific Solutions, provides consulting, coaching, and presentation services to develop greater awareness of body language inside and out for personal development and success. Make sure we're all sitting up straight. Carolyn created the Be Electrific Day on February 11th to honor Thomas Edison's birthday and to discover the electricity within our bodies. When all that electricity is flowing properly and you feel terrific, you are electrific. You may have seen her on news or talk shows, or perhaps even the Ellen DeGeneres show. Please help me in welcoming Carolyn Finch.
Music conductors live into their 80s and 90s. Medical physicians live into their 60s and 70s. Why is it that our occupation might determine not only our body language, but our health? I'll answer that question and those questions in a little while. But I will give you some ideas of things you can look for in other people and yourself in the area of body language. So whether you're speaking to one-on-one, or you're speaking to a small group, or you're within a group, communication can be enhanced when we understand body language. I thank you all for coming today so that I could look at your body language all at the same time. But in reality, I know how hard it is to juggle your schedules and to make sure you're going to be someplace. So I think it's great that you made it. I'd like you to reach back, give yourselves a little pat on the back. Yay, you made it. You came here. And isn't it wonderful? Let's give Lisa a round of applause. And another round of applause for Joanne. Yes, I'm glad you showed up. Because as the great 21st century philosopher, Woody Allen, said, 90% of success is showing up. I'd like to change that a little bit. I'd like to say 90% of success is body language. You already know this much about body language. And in a little while, you'll know this much. And when you start to use some of the skills and techniques I'll share with you, and you put it to work, you'll know this much. If you want to know more about body language, then you want to study it. Maybe come to one of my seminars, and you'll know this much. And pretty soon you'll be an expert in body language. How many of you are parents? It's just about everybody. How many of you are grandparents? How many of you are a child? You didn't raise your hand. How'd you start out? We first started learning body language when we were a little tiny baby. You, and you. And even you, Tom. You were that tiny little seed. That miraculous little seed. I think they call it a sperm. And it was implanted. And you became the magnificent person you are today. Only sometimes we take it for granted. Sometimes we don't realize how wonderful and how powerful we are. When you get up in the morning, you may get up and say, oh, what's going on today? And I gotta do this, and now I gotta get, and that's the beginning of your day. Oh, you're over here. So when you get up tomorrow morning, I want you to throw those covers back, wiggle your toes, say to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm alive. And then throw your legs over to the side of the bed and walk left, right, into the bathroom, look in the mirror and say, morning, gorgeous. Isn't that what you usually say? No. Or do you look in the mirror and say, oh my God. Well, body language does begin with you. And when you were that little tiny child, you looked at everybody around you and you understood what their body language meant. And sometimes you wanted to tell people certain things and you had to be quiet. So you'd cover up your mouth. Maybe somebody said something to you and you covered up your ears. And maybe sometimes you covered up your eyes. Remember those guys? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil? Go ahead. Put your hands over your eyes. And then your ears. And your mouth. You still do it as an adult. But it's a little more subtle. How many of you are in the insurance business? Okay. So when you are speaking with your client, and your client touches their ear, rubs behind their ear, they don't want to hear what you're saying. So stop right there. Don't go any further. You're going to waste your time and money. If a person pushes their glasses up, and by the way, they're not slipping, or they go like this or around their eye, it means they don't want to see the picture that you're painting. So stop right there. Move ahead. Too many times when we are face to face, we do not use the technique that telemarketers use. Move on. Because maybe we don't know some of the most important things that we should know. So the eyes, yes, they're going to do that. The ear, they're going to do this, and they're going to do this. And the mouth is this, or this. So when you see that, know that they're holding back some information that they would love to shout out, but they can't because they're an adult and they can't act like the child did. Let's take a look at what our communication is in our society and every day. I gave some of you before some numbers. I'd like to know who has a number. What's your number?
7.
7, lucky 7. Oh, do you have any idea why I gave you this number? Does anybody have any idea why I gave you this number? Okay, 7. This is going to be a percent, 7%. Who else has a number? Okay.
55.
55. Haven't seen that age in a long time. 55. Okay. So we've got 7 and 55. And there was another third one. Ah, yes. 38. The year I was born. Would you believe that? So now we have these 3 numbers. And they represent our 3 modes of communication. One of our modes is verbal. Those are the words that come out of my mouth. So when you are hearing someone on the phone, you may only be listening to the words because you've never been taught how to listen to the body language on the phone. The other communication we have is vocal, when we speak. So if I say, I'm a good little girl. Okay, all of you say that. I'm a good little girl. So the words are coming out, but the tone of voice is putting me into a certain position. And my body language is kind of like a little girl. So without realizing it, when the words come out of our mouth, so does the tone of voice. Now, included in vocal are the sounds that we make. Did you ever notice the sounds people make? They go to the doctor's office. Person next to you in the doctor's office. You're hoping they don't lean that way. And what hiccups, all kinds of noises people make. Now, a few years ago when I was in Africa, I learned that a lot of the native languages use clicking. Various different clicks in there. And let me tell you, they're hard to do. I spent a lot of time, and I failed, because that happens to be a part of their communication system. So those are not verbal. Those are vocal. And when we start to look at the vocal sounds that people are making, there's a great variety. Then the other one is nonverbal. Can I tell by your color that you have a lot of energy? Can I tell by the color that you're wearing? Can I tell by looking at your hairstyle some of the ideas? We're not going to get into all of that today. We're going to get into some of the others. But when I do an all-day program, we talk about, what does the hair tell you? What do the eyes? How about the earrings? There is something to be said for everything that we are wearing, everything that we're doing. Question?
You must pick someone to do that.
What?
Pick someone as an
Pick someone's hairstyle, please.
Well, I'll just tell you this, that we know that very, very long hair belongs to witches. Now, if you want to learn more, come to my all-day program and we'll talk about hair. Okay, so these three represent verbal, the words coming out of your mouth, nonverbal, what we see, the body movement, and the other one is verbal. So you tell me, which one stands for which? Which is 38? Vocal. 38 is vocal. And those are the sounds, and that's very important because you know what? They're also nonverbal. So think about that. So what's another one? 7 and 55.
7 is verbal.
7 is verbal, and most of you have heard that at one time or another, but you may not have paid attention enough, and you're still on that verbal. So when you meet somebody, you're so busy talking to them. I mean, you're so busy listening to what they have to say, you're not listening. You're thinking about what you're going to say when they shut up. And that's the way most of us function. So somebody brings up a topic, and you're there, oh, let's see, oh, I remember when I did this, and you can't wait to get your story in. True. Because you're not watching their body language. So these are the three bases to all our body language, is verbal, vocal, and nonverbal. So we take the nonverbal and we put the vocal together, and we get over 90% of communication is something we've never been trained in. Would you agree? We've never been trained in how to understand whether it's a sniff or a sniffle. And there's a difference in all these different vocal sounds. And when you were kids, you could make all the sounds you wanted when you were really, really little. And then they said, stop, don't do that. That's not polite. And you say, okay, so it's not polite. I started in body language for the TV audience when I was asked to be a consultant on the O.J. Simpson case. I was teaching at West Con at the time, and so I became a consultant, and every time something happened, they would come and ask me to be on the news shows and so forth. But the very second week of the case, the Boston Globe said to me, who do you think is guilty? And I said, it doesn't make any difference who's guilty. Doesn't make any difference, guilty or not. Marcia Clark will never win this case. Why? Because she stood like a little girl, cocked her head to one side and said, yes, Your Honor. Case closed. Interesting. But it was a very interesting case, and I can go into it in detail when I have time, but it certainly helped the public to understand that body language was very significant. You see, Johnny Cochran was a skilled body language person, and he just moved right into the jury, and he got friendly with them, and he showed them the glove and all of that, and Marcia Clark was out here. So the whole difference in that case had to do with body language. Now, when we look at the body, we usually don't know what to look for. For instance, if you have a name tag on, move your name tag to the right side. That's the appropriate place for it. Yes. Could you come up here for a minute? Sure. Okay, put your name tag there. Okay, so you want to always put it on your right side. Oh, I can't remember names. I can't remember faces. I hear that, and this is why. I shake your hand. My eye goes up your arm. I look at the name tag, and then I look at your face. Okay. Now the face and the name and the handshake all go together. So as I go up and I look at Stacy, I begin to see that, oh, this has some significance. So thank you for moving your name tags. Thank you very much. For you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's look at the human body. Now the belly button is the middle of your body, and when your arms are up, you make an X. These are the limbs that work together. So you have your left hand and your right leg working together. And you have your right hand and your left leg working together. As some people get older, their legs don't work anymore. And so they walk like this. But nobody in this room, we're going to all live to be 100. So, what?
Your lips to God's ears.
All right, and we got all these witnesses. All right? So now, we're going to look at the body in a way that a lot of people have never looked at the body before. It's called MEPS, M-E-P-S. The mental part of the body is from the collarbone to the top of your head. So the kinds of things that are happening between here and here are reflections of what you or another person are thinking mentally. The tongue is used for balance. So if any of you have ever seen somebody with Down syndrome or some people with autism, their tongue is out. Like this. If you walk into the library, you see somebody reading a book and they're all slunched over to this side and their tongue is out. And that's because they're balancing their head and their eyes so they can read the book. So there's just so much. But what's important to you is for you to know the collarbone to the top of the head. That's the mental ability area. So when a person doesn't have a lot of mental ability and there's absolutely no expression, you make your own opinions. Correct? Sure. And when the person is smiling, there are many basic expressions. Smiling, happy, sad, angry, surprise, and so forth. And we don't usually pay attention to what we call micro changes. Teeny tiny little changes that people make from one expression to another one. Now, I need to share with you, there's two basic smiles. There is the smile below the nose. I call that the Miss America smile. The true smile, when somebody is really sincere, the eyes are going to smile. So your whole face is going to light up. And that's going to be your smile. So if you're just down here, or then there's another one, which I see in the corporate environment and sometimes even in their photography, and that's the closed lip smile. 5 more years and I can retire. You've seen it. You've seen that expression. You know what I'm talking about. From the collarbone down to the lower rib cage is the emotional part of your body. And the emotional part of your body is going to incorporate your heart and your lungs and your arms and your hands. All of this has to do with emotions. And when we look at the emotional part of the body and something is not right, shoulders off, the hand isn't right, we know that something isn't quite right emotionally, because the bodies give what we call leaks. We see these little leaks, and this is that very important area. So yes, if I go into a doctor's office, and I don't go to the doctor a lot, but I observe a lot in doctor's offices, and a person may be sitting next to me, and I've observed in your office. I need to do that. And so you see the breathing. One person is breathing. There's that vocal. Another person is. So you're getting all your emotional reflections from the way people are breathing and how long they can breathe. Which reminds me, why don't we all stand up and we'll test your breathing. Now I'm going to ask you to do 3 things I'll demonstrate first. I want you to blow the air out, then breathe in with your mouth so that you can hear a noise. I'll demonstrate. And I want you to breathe as much as you can in through your mouth. Get close to your chair, because when you get to the point where you can't stand up anymore, you're going to need to sit down. Okay, blow that dead air out of your lungs. Open your mouth, breathe in. Sit down when you can't breathe anymore. Let's do that again, okay?
I didn't get it.
Here we go. That was just practice. Okay, this time you're gonna breathe out all that dead air, all that stuff that's going into your lungs all day long. I mean, especially if you work inside and people cough and sneeze and do other things. And that's gonna you're gonna breathe that in. So let's breathe that out. Ready? Now open your mouth, take a big breath, and keep going. Sit down when you can no longer keep bringing it in. Stand up, please. Yeah. Me? Okay, what do you do for exercise?
Yoga.
Okay, what else?
I walk.
Okay. That's my story. Okay? When you walk, you do yoga, you do exercise, you breathe, you swim, you develop your breath. Your breath is a basic part of your emotions. Okay, give her a round of applause. I left you a piece of paper on laughing yoga, which we're now starting in the Danbury area. Any of you ever experienced it? It's really fun.
Thank you.
So that's the physical. The emotional. The physical area is from the lower rib cage down to the groin, upper part of your leg. This is the physical area. This is where that little seed was implanted. This is where you started life. This is where your intestines are. Where's your food digested? Not in your stomach. It's liquefied in your stomach. It's digested in your intestines. If your food cannot digest it, they get bigger, full of junk. Your intestines are as wide as a tennis court, all squished together inside of you. So if you give your intestines things they don't like, they bump and they curve and they growl and they puff out. And we see people all over the place walking around with their intestines hanging down. Me too. So That's the physical area of the body. And we need to understand that that physical area is what connects the top and connects the legs. Now, some of you in the room may not agree with me with the next thing I'm going to say, but it is the legs and the feet are very spiritual connections to the world. So when you step out, you are stepping into an arena of something that is much larger than you. Much larger than you. And in a little while, I will show you how the legs are so important, like a tree trunk. Like the tree right there. That's our base. And the roots are our feet that connect right to the earth. And that we really know that there's energy right underneath those feet. So when I look at a person, I look at these 4 areas and put them all together like a little puzzle. And we can't always look at one person. Maybe some of you have seen my friend Tanya Ryman. She used to be on the O'Reilly Show. The Bill O'Reilly Show. Did anybody ever see her there? And after a while, Tanya was doing the same thing. She'd say, well, he's leaning forward, so he's excited. He's pulling back, so he's not excited. And everything started to get very basic. And that's when she was no longer on the show, because you can only say so much when you see this much of a video. It's very difficult. With the O.J. Simpson case, we saw videos galore in the studio that you would never have an opportunity to see. One of the ones that we saw was a video filmed with Nicole's boyfriend, Bill. You've never heard of Bill, have you? Well, you see, Bill said, if my name gets out, anybody subpoenas me, I will turn this case upside down and tell all the papers and media how O.J. pays the Los Angeles Police Department to stay away from his gambling games. Never heard that, did you? Oh, it's amazing what we can cover up in the media. How many of you in marketing, media? Hey, it's true, isn't it? Yeah. You just never know. Depends on where you are. So this is the 4 parts of your body: the mental, emotional, the mental ability, the emotional stability, the physical agility, and the spiritual capability. What people are capable of doing once they step out and get out of their own way. Do you agree? Sure. Now, one of the things that we all do, and I did it tonight, and so did you, was to shake hands. Now, Stacy and I demonstrated one handshake, but I'd like you to turn to the person next to you, and I'd like you to shake their hand and then stop in the middle of the handshake. Go ahead. Stop in the middle of the handshake. Okay. Now, a person who has their hand on top likes to be in control. Okay. And many times, how many of you are single? How many single women in this group? Okay. If you go out on a date, if you go out to dinner, you shake your companion's hand first. And you'll learn a lot about them.
What does it mean if it's on top? We couldn't hear you over here.
Oh, I'm sorry. If it's on top, oh, and she's my friend. I know she likes to be in control. So, when the hand is on top, when the hand is underneath, and some people will actually put their hand underneath because they're afraid to network. Now, what did she do here?
I tested both sides because we thought it maybe had something to do with
there you go.
Yeah. But
Yep.
does it always also have something to do with
Oh, that's very interesting. She said she tested both sides. Question. Go ahead.
Antonia said, does it have to do with also does it have to do with the way the person presents their hand?
Yes and no. Good question. It may have to do with the way a person presents their hand. Yes, but you have the option of straightening it or turning it over. So
Go from the side and you put your hand up this way.
some people do, but not everybody. Some people come underneath.
Really?
And some people come from on top.
I mean,
Now, let me tell you that. anything that is on top, when people are talking and their hands are like this, that's pretty negative. But when their hands are up, that's positive. So you want to watch for the person who says, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And you say, oh, I don't think Carolyn would agree with that. And you say, hey, I like that idea. So there is a big difference. Now, when my assistant and I were in Namibia, Africa, I learned a new handshake. And it was great. It was sponsored by a church, the Peace Corps, the municipality. And I went to the municipal center the first day we were there. And this is how he shook my hand.
Yeah.
And I thought it was created in the Bronx. So I realized that this handshake, shaking the hand, then the thumb, and then the hand, is a handshake in many parts of Africa. So about 3 months after I was back in the U.S., I did a workshop, never mentioned handshakes in that workshop. And this gentleman came up to me afterwards and he shook my hand. He says, this was so nice, I really appreciated it. And I said, where are you from? And he said, Zimbabwe. And I said, oh, so this is spreading. It didn't start in the Bronx. So as I began to realize, oh my gosh, this is really an amazing thing to learn about. Now, sometimes somebody might shake your hand like this. Can you all see over here? And say, oh, it's been a pleasure seeing you. Yes, really, really good. This is the Dolly Madison handshake. She did not make ice cream. She was President Madison's mostess with a hostess. And so she would put the hand up here on the wrist, look in your eyes, so that she could keep you just a little bit longer. Now, this has now progressed to the political handshake, and the political handshake is very similar, except I go up to your elbow. And now I'm feeling a little bit more of the blood flowing through your body. I'm looking in your eyes. I'm keeping you there a little longer, and then I give you a pat. So I want you to watch for those when you look at the news shows and things like that. It's been very interesting to see Obama in different countries, because in different countries we have different mores. And some of there was definitely a faux pas when Mrs. Obama, Michelle Obama, put her arm around Queen Elizabeth's waist. You just don't do that. That would be as bad as if I wore this for an interview with IBM. So therefore, we do have to know the mores. So tell me what this means.
Okay. Or,
In the United States. In the United States. It means nothing in France. So therefore, when the Olympics were in France and all the Americans were going, go Americans, the French said, these Americans really are crazy. It's a homosexual gesture in Czechoslovakia and in some countries in South America. It's money in Japan. So I got an email from someone this week who was going to Ecuador, and she said, is there anything I shouldn't use? And I said, yes, this one. So don't use it too much, because you never know who you're speaking with. So those are the kind of foreign gestures, and we need to know those. We need to understand that if there are two Egyptian males walking along the street holding hands, they're not gay. That's just the way Egyptians act in the business world. And they're recognizing the fact that they get along and they're working well together. So we've got a long way to go understanding body language. Now, one of the things I want you to understand are the 4 basic personalities. Do any of you know those 4 basic personality styles? One is the analytic. And if you'd like any of this information, you can email me. You have my card, you have the Laughing Yoga sheet, and I can send you some paper material. I don't have handouts for all of you because I'm saving trees. So if you're interested in anything I'm saying, email me, tell me what you're interested in, and I'll send you some information. So as we begin to look at the 4 personality styles, and there are many, but these are the basic 4, and I learned them through medical training, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I want you to think of a big cross, okay, big cross. In the upper left-hand side, we have the analytic, the person who analyzes. They come early to an event. They always have an extra pen, which reminds me, if you didn't sign that form going around, be sure and sign it. There's another one up there, and I think one out there, and I will keep you posted as to what is happening in the area of body language through my blogs, and then also if you're interested in learning more. So that's the analytic. The analytic, we could spend many hours on the analytic, but the analytic basically is organized, early, structured. Those are the kids who put their shoes together under their bed when they were 1 year old and nobody told them to do it. Maybe you know somebody like that. Not in my house. Now, next to that analytic, we have over here the driver. The driver is a person who talks fast, and when you're trying to talk to them, you got to walk behind them and tell them whatever you want them to hear, because they're so busy. They are interested in the end result. They're great competitors. Somehow in their brains, they can take care of everything all at the same time. Conductors, music conductors, tend to not only be all 4 personalities, but they tend to focus on the end result. Of course, you're going to pay to go to the symphony concert. It's got to be perfect. So the conductor is whole-brained. They're using their left brain analytic, they're using their right brain creativity, and they're putting it all together at the same time. So they conduct the orchestra, and then they stop. And they talk to the 3rd violin and say, I think you need to tune your G string. And I don't mean the G strings. So therefore, he can take it all in at the same time, and he's exercising his entire body. His foot's going down here, his hands are going here. He's got mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, it's all there. And that's one of the reasons why conductors live so long. But let me give you this exercise. It's great for high blood pressure. You can bring it down in 20 minutes. And at my Nutrition Monday program, we did that. We had a nurse come in, take everybody's blood pressure. People with high blood pressure, we brought it down 20 minutes. And this is the exercise. And it's the one that you see them do in Russia when they have the May Day parade and they're marching like this. Well, what do conductors do? They're keeping this whole top of their body exercised. And with that exercise, you actually can bring your blood pressure down. So if you can put that into your daily routine, you can help your heart. The 3rd personality style, down in this lower corner, left corner, okay, down here, is the amiable. The amiable is a person, usually a woman, who wants to love everybody and wants everybody to love her. So if you go to a family gathering, and Aunt Hilda is there, and you've never met Aunt Hilda, and you tell her it's your birthday tomorrow, Aunt Hilda sends you a birthday card for the rest of your life. These are the people who go away and bring back a little something for everybody. Amiables are not great decision makers. They're great coaches. And they can say, do you want to do it this way or do you want to do it this way? But when it comes to decision making, they may need help from someone else. And the 4th is the expressive. The expressive person is interested in whatever is new, whatever is something that everybody can be excited about, like this gallery right here. They're creative. They're many times musicians. They're risk takers. So if there's anybody here who wants to join my skydiving group in June, is there anybody? Okay, well, put your name next, put a little check mark next to it if you do. I get a group together every June, and it's great. It's a great sport. So anyway, so what are my personality? What's my personality? Expressive. So when you put all those four together, it's a lot easier to read somebody. So you look at the person and you say, he's an expressive, she's an analytic, and then we talk to them in certain ways. So how many of you have ever had a child go to preschool? Oh, wow. So let's take Dad. Dad wants to know about this preschool. If Dad is an analytic, he's going to say, how much is it? If Dad is a driver, he's going to say, so how soon can we get her in? And if the father is an amiable, he'll say, you decide. You decide, Mom. And if it's expressive, say, what things do they do? Do they go on field trips? What activities do they do? And that's the way four different people would respond to the same situation. So as we begin to understand the four personalities and the four parts of the body, we can put that all together and we can really understand a human being a lot more than we're giving ourselves opportunities to do at this time. Now I need a couple of volunteers. Let's not play sixth grade. Come on, volunteers. Okay, come on up. Let's do one now, and then the other two, you can come up. Okay. Okay, so we'll have Jennifer. Okay, you two are next. Okay, Jennifer is No, she's not going to sit down. Just because we have a chair, we think we're going to sit down. Okay, I'm going to move this, Jennifer. I'd like you to get behind the chair. Come around here. Okay, now, too many times we put blocks in front of us. Podiums. Purses. Have you noticed?
Sure.
One of the places I observe, pardon me, but I observe in the courtroom, and I see a lot of the women, lawyers, coming in with piles of papers and a bag on their shoulder. And it's affecting their body language. It's a block that people are putting in front of themselves. Now, we're going to test your strength. May we test your strength, Jennifer?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so we're going to see what strength she has in her body. Okay, I'm going to push down. This is kinesiology. How many of you have ever heard of it? Oh, it's good stuff. Look at that! And I remember when nobody knew about it. Okay, so she's going to look straight ahead, and I'm going to test her strength. Look at that. Isn't that great? Okay, now we're going to put the chair in front of Jennifer, and we're going to test her strength again. And she's pretty tall. Resist.
Ooh.
What happened?
I haven't any idea.
She lost all the strength. The muscles, kinesiology is the study of the movement of the muscles. Every muscle is connected to an organ. If the muscle is weak, the organ is weak. And that's the way it works. Now let me show you this, Jennifer. Pardon my back. I'd like you to hold this book like this. The way women hold things as a whole. Just on one side, maybe on the other side, and we'll test like we did before. Just up against your shoulder. Yeah, that's pretty much the way women hold things. And we're going to test the strength again. And we're going to see. Resist. What happened? She lost the strength in her muscles because of the way she was holding something. Now put that down on your hips. You guys wouldn't hold that up here like this. You'd hold it. Oh, did you see that face he made? Like, I don't even want to think about that. So you put it down on your side. Let's see what your strength is. Okay, resist. Look at that. Wow. Isn't that amazing? Give her a round of applause. And that's yours. Yeah. Anybody else want to volunteer? Oh, we have two. Okay, one of you. Which one? Go ahead. Come. Let's see, do I want this now? Yeah, I do. Okay. Now, if you would have a seat, please. This time we are going to sit. And I had mentioned to you before that your legs are really the spirit of your body, the trunk of your body, the base to everything you're going to be doing in life. And when you can no longer use your legs, life changes radically, radically. So may I check the strength in your legs?
Sure.
Okay, so she's going to put her hands down at the side and pull her knee up just like a puppet. You want to pull that knee up like that? Okay, and the leg goes down. Is that weird? Okay, pick your leg up, and I'm going to push down. And did you see it? Did you all see that?
Yeah.
Very, very important. Now I want you to fix that and make those legs strong. I think I better help you.
Okay, please.
Okay. All right, I want you to take the heel of your hand, go all the way up to your hips where a seam would be. And you're going to go back and forth to your knees, all the way to your knees. Okay, a little more on the side. You're now hitting 16 acupuncture points on each leg. Okay, it's a lot easier, a lot faster than needles. Besides, I hate to see people make the face Tom just made. Okay, stop when you want. Okay, pick your leg up. Okay, resist. Yes!
Wow.
Did you see that? This is kinesiology.
Really?
Okay, yep. Did you see that? Is that ever amazing? Give her a round of applause. And this is for you. A carrot. What does she have a carrot for? We're going to run outside and make a snowman. Why do I have a carrot? Because we are electrical. And a lot of what you just saw was stimulating the electricity in our body. So as the thighs were rubbed, there was more energy in the legs. I would work in a nursing home, and we'd have somebody like this, and I'd say, hey, come here, let me fix your legs. And they'd already been through physical therapy that day, and they would go through this, and then they would stand up and say, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. There is so much that we can do that we don't know about. I am so excited so many of you raised your hands because we are finding so many things with kinesiology. We can assess a person. When I work with someone, it sometimes takes 3 hours before we're finished. And we can find out all kinds of things mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. This carrot is an electrical food. And if we're really, really, really sick and we live on raw foods and we have electrical foods, we're putting electricity back in our body. Our eyes are very electrical. And when we start to wear glasses, we're breaking down the electricity in our bodies. So it's very, very important. And I've been involved in holistic medicine all my life. Well, since I was 4. When I was 4 years old, my dad took me to a chiropractor. And since I'm 75, I've been to a chiropractor now for 71 years. Think about that. Now, the other is that I was a special student before they had special education. I never learned to read till the end of 3rd grade. I had double vision. My eyes went out to the side. I wore those thick prism glasses. I had to do exercises for at least a half an hour every day and play the piano every day. This was a requirement in my home. That's the way I grew up. So I was involved in alternative medicine. And I can speak from experience that, hello, it works. But so does our standard medicine. Got to have a little bit of both. So I have this little ball here. And if I touch these little wires, my electricity is turning this on. Your electricity gets money out of the ATM. And we always thought it grew on trees. When you now put your finger on that ATM, that's the electricity in your fingers making that work. Your smartphone, same way. So we constantly have what we call the transfer of energy. So I'm going to put my finger on one end, and now I'm going to put it on the other. Look at that. There's so much electricity in that carrot that carrot turns it on. Now, if this is not an organic carrot and it's sprayed with all kinds of sprays, this little ball does not go on. If it's an apple that's been sprayed, it doesn't go on. What?
We take it to the grocery store with us?
Absolutely, absolutely. Take it to the grocery store. I see people in the grocery store going, I say, are you looking for kinesiology? And she said, oh yeah, I saw this. I want to test this food. Very simple. You hold whatever you want in your hand and you say, do I want this? And if your body goes back, you don't get it. If your body goes forward, yes, you get it. One of my dear friends, Mark Victor Hansen, and also Jack, he's in the tape there, to Jack Canfield. How did they discover chicken soup for the soul? They had 100 people come in, strangers. They put their hand on different titles. 98 out of 100 were tested. They were all tested with kinesiology. 98 out of 100 selected chicken soup for the soul, and that's how they got the name for their billionaire business. So this is just to give you a little idea of the kind of thing that can happen when we start to understand the body inside and out. And we haven't really been given the option of being able to understand the body. I need another volunteer. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Antonia, right?
Yes.
Antonia. Okay, I'm going to test your strength, all right? Okay, look straight ahead, please. Okay, resist. Oh, there's a little weakness there. Okay. Okay, so give yourself some instant strength, would you please? Boy, does she learn fast, huh? Actually, what I'd like you to do is what our cousins do. Our cousins, the apes. Okay, you're going to make a fist, and right here you have a breastbone. Underneath is a gland called the thymus. When you're hoarse, when you feel like a cold is coming on, when you don't like the person you just spoke to, when you had the wrong telephone call, you thump your thymus, just like that, right? And you give yourself instant energy. Instant energy. Celine Dion goes like this when she sings to give herself instant energy. I was so excited when I was watching the Olympics the other day, and here was a whole team, and they were all going like this, and I'm saying, yes, we're getting this across.
That is pretty cool.
Yep. Okay, so now let's test your strength. Okay, resist. Look at that. Did you see the difference? Because she stimulated that particular gland, and you may have a ball.
Yahoo!
All right. Okay. And you will begin to see it a lot more. The other move you're going to see a lot more is the cross crawl. In fact, why don't you all get up? And we'll do that. Okay, this is a great exercise, and it is so important to exercise. And we don't get time. We don't have time. So just do a couple of simple little cross crawls. So you're going to go like this, the opposite side, and you're going to do that with your hand. And that's going to stimulate your entire body, okay? If you have difficulty doing it, sit down and do it. Oh, stop. That wasn't good enough for this group. I want you to do your elbows now. Ready, go. Elbow down, okay? Got that? And stop. You can sit down. Did it feel? Did it feel like you just exercised? Yes. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So if you're too embarrassed to do it at your desk, go to the ladies' room or something. But don't let people think you're crazy, because then they'll know who you are. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of questions.
Tapping the top of the head do?
Tapping the top of the head actually helps. If any of you know tapping, have you ever heard of that? Yeah. Okay, we do that within our laughter yoga program, Laugh Out Loud Wellness program, which I'm having tomorrow night. I work out of the Olympus Personal Training office. Does anybody know where that is? On Mill Plain Road. And one of the things that you're doing is you're stimulating a chakra. Do you know what chakras are? Okay, so you're stimulating a major chakra that way. However, in kinesiology, we might have points on the head where we would test too much sugar, too much salt, and this is the Parkinson's part of the brain. So if there's heat back there, then we want to relate that to your thyroid. A lot of Parkinson's. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in my 40s and found out through kinesiology that I didn't have Parkinson's. It was a problem with an imbalance in my thyroid. So there are a lot of things that we need to take a look at that we've never looked at. Are you learning something? Yes. Are you going to put it to use? Yes. Is this fun?
Yes.
Is it helpful?
Yes.
All right. Another question.
I understand when people sit like this that they're uptight or closing themselves off.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Okay, so when we take a look at the arm fold, there's actually 8 different ways you can fold your arms. So if you have fists, and you have those fists like this, and you will see that, folks, you don't want to do business with that person. Just forget it. Because they will take you for a ride. But if you have a Princess Di person who used to have her arms folded like this so that she could open her hands at any time, talk to a person with her body open, receive flowers if she needed to, pick up a little child. This is the way she folded her arms. When you have one arm inside like this, it means a lot different than if you have your arms out like this. So I was speaking to a weight loss state organization, and I picked 2 people out of the audience, and I brought them up. They both had lovely, lovely bodies, and I said, to the one on the left, I said, you lost your weight a long time ago. And the other woman, I said, you just recently lost your weight. How could I tell? The woman who recently lost her weight folded her arms like this, as if she still had weight here. Isn't that interesting? And the other woman did what I call the I love me fold. So when your hands are like this and your hand is here, it's actually a self-stimulation. So you're not angry when you do that. But like the other day, I looked at a picture of the 3 executives with Microsoft, and the 2 biggies had their hands like this, as if to say, I think this is great that we have somebody new on board, but I'm still in charge. And I will be for a long time. So if you're interested in learning more about body language, do sign that sheet, and I will be writing some blogs and on body language and giving you some more tips. We do have program when I'm home in the Danbury area. I do have programs, little ones, some of them. I'm so excited that you invited me to come, Joanne. I think it's been great. And tomorrow night we're doing the Laugh Out Loud Wellness. And how many of you have ever done that? Anybody? Well, it's. Did you like it? Oh, yes, you did. Of course. She was there last month.
Is it every month?
Every month's the 3rd Friday night. And
Where do you do that?
Olympus Personal Training, which is right next to the Windmill Diner. Go to the back of the parking lot and turn right. It's the back entrance of Coldwell Banker. And in August of this year, I had a really bad fall in my house. I went downstairs at 1:30 in the morning to close windows because of a storm, and I took 2 steps instead of 1. And I fell onto my landing. We have a big 4-generation grandfather's clock on the landing. And I reached out to support myself, and my hand went right down the clock, and I dislocated and broke the bones in my hand and hurt my tendons. For those of you who don't know, there aren't any muscles in your fingers. They're all worked with tendons, and they're worked from the muscles up here. So I was doing therapy 3 hours a day because they said I could lose the use of my hand if I didn't do that. And I did that for about 6 weeks, and we cut it down to 2 hours and so forth and so on. But because I was disciplined as a child in what I mentioned to you, it was very easy for me to do therapy. I still had pain in this finger, this middle finger, and I told the doctor, this finger's got to work. I need it in traffic. So I I couldn't get this further than that, and I was in excruciating pain. And a friend of mine in New York said, hey, you got to go to this laughter yoga with me. You laugh, you do all kinds of things, you do activities, you rub your, no, that's mine, I forgot, that isn't theirs, that's mine. And do all these different kinds of things, and pretty soon, you may not even feel any pain. One day of laughter yoga, actually the first 3 hours, I could move that finger all the way down and had no pain in my hand. It stimulates your endorphins. It gets everything balanced in your body. It's just amazing. And since I do other kinds of alternative, I have found that this is one of the most fun, because if you have had a terrible week and it's Friday night, and then if you really want to stretch it a little, there's 3 eating places right nearby. So I hope that you have picked up some hints on body language, and that you've enjoyed this evening in this very wonderful environment. And when we stop and look at what's going on every day, we're all in this together. Each one of us is on a journey to self-discovery. Speak, and you will be heard. Say something significant, and you will be remembered. But take action, and you will change. And when you change, you will contribute to the world. Thank you.
Thank you. I got to give the official thank you.
Oh, yes. Oh, she's hey, it's which one is it, folks? It's halfway between Dolly and Donald Trump.
Thank you so much. Tomorrow morning, we're all going to wake up. We're going to throw those blankets off and say, "Good
Morning, gorgeous.
Thank you all so much for coming. It was fabulous. We learned so much. Please, if you haven't, sign the sheet. Enjoy Carolyn again in the future. We're thrilled you came here tonight. Photographer John Kane is here if anyone would like to learn more about Bodies in Motion. And thank you for coming. We hope to see you again real soon.
Thank you.